Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with FigureItOut Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey guys, I just received a package, and I got this from retrotowers.co.uk. It's a site, a video game store based in the UK. I'll put a link to their website in the description, and I'd highly recommend checking them out. They got some really good deals on a lot of video game stuff. Even on the card, it just says Game Boy, NES, N64, Dreamcast, Xbox, PlayStation, and a bunch of more things. And they have some really good prices, so go check them out, because that's where I got this. You want to see what this is? This is pretty cool. I'll just go ahead and open it up right here, right on camera. Packed up. Comes with yet another card, and because I buy from them more than once. And give me a second to get through the bubble wrap here. Okay, getting down to that. Got that out of the way. Okay, sorry, there's even more bubble wrap. Don't want to damage anything. Come on. There we go. Alright, what we have here, right here, is the Turbo Everdrive. Now, for those of you who already know the Everdrive series, you're already going to know what this is. And I'm sure you saw the title, and you probably saw the intro picture, so you have some idea what's about to happen. But for those who don't know, this is, like I said, the Turbo Everdrive. It is basically a flash card. A flash card is basically a game cartridge that is capable of holding every game ever made for a system, ever, and then being able to use it on that system. What you do is you take a micro SD card, well in this case it's a micro SD card. It looks like that, sorry I know it's out of focus. It does not take full-size SD cards, not that kind. It just takes, well that says micro because that's an adapter, but you know what I mean. This big one doesn't take those. It takes the small ones, and you basically just plug it into the SD card slot, like that. At least I think it goes like that. Maybe it goes the other direction. No, I was right the first time. Goes in like this. Yes. I'll have to mess with... There we go. Okay, it's a little clicky. Yeah, it goes in just like that. And now this thing has every game ever made for the TurboGrafx 16 right here. And in case you don't know what the TurboGrafx 16 is, well, it was that system you saw, the intro picture, and here it is again. This is a system, a 16-bit system, that came out in the early 90s to compete with the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. And it did not do well in the United States. It did not do well pretty much anywhere except for Japan, where it looked drastically different. It was called the PC Engine. I would love to have one. I can't show you one. I just have to show you this picture because I don't own one. But I do have a TurboGrafx 16, so that's good enough for me, at least for now. Eventually I'll get a PC Engine. So all you do is take this, put it in the system, and that's it. Every game ever made for the TurboGrafx 16 all at once. The TurboGrafx 16 is a pretty cool system. It has, on the back, actually it has an expansion port, which I have to take this plastic thing off to get to. And right here you could attach a CD system. The TurboGrafx CD, also known as the, I believe, the PC Engine CD in Japan, which actually is the first CD-based video game system ever. It predates even the Sega CD, not by much, but it did get out before that. Not that that really matters. I would love to have one of those. If anybody has one, they don't want it, send it to me. I'll take it. I'll love to have a CD attachment for this thing. But this will only support the ROM games, the cartridge-based games. The cartridge-based games, they look like this. You know, these are little like, well, they're called Hue cards. They're not typical cartridges, as you can tell. Unfortunately, as you'll notice here, this just looks like a circuit board, because that's basically all that it is. It does not have any such plastic case, which is unfortunate, but there's not really anything you can do about that. The other Everdrives, they have the advantage of, you know, say a Super Nintendo Everdrive. You can just make that board, because this guy named Krix makes those things. This guy in the UK, or not the UK, sorry, the Ukraine, makes these boards, and he doesn't put cases on them. That's whatever, that's okay. But if you did, you could just grab like an old sports game, like a Super Nintendo sports game, like Madden, who gives a shit, and then just put it on the case, and there you go. You have an awesome Super Nintendo thing, Super Everdrive. But in this case, well, you can't do that. So you have to make your own custom cases, which I'm not going to do, you know, just because that's way beyond, plastic molding is beyond my skill set, but you don't really need it. just take good care of it. I'm going to keep it wrapped probably in just this that's well fitted. Again, thank you to the guys over at retrotowers.co.uk for packaging that so well. This costs, on their website, it costs $49.99. That's in pounds, mind you. In US or Canadian, that's about 80. So that's still a pretty good deal, and I'd highly recommend you go and check that out. So what we're going to do is I've already loaded it up with the games, but obviously I've never opened it, I've never tried it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. Just stick it in there like that, and I'll turn on the system, and we're going to see what we get. Now, it's my understanding that this is both compatible with the Turbografx 16 and the PC Engine. It has a switch on board to switch between the two. It says, well, it's right there, right here by my finger. There's a tiny little dial. In fact, I have to switch it because the left appears to be PC Engine and the right is Turbografx 16. They are different. Their shapes are different, and apparently there is region encoding, so you have to acknowledge that. I don't own a PC Engine, like I said before, so I'll just leave it on Turbografx 16 like all the time. Okay guys, I've got the Turbografx 16 all hooked up, and I've got the card in there. Now remember, I already installed my own ROMs on this thing, so it does not come like this. You have to do that yourself. Now unfortunately with the Turbografx 16, I know you're seeing AV cables, but this is actually an RF only system. The way this works, well, it doesn't matter how that's working, but the point is, it only has RF. It does not have the traditional composite, which is the yellow cable you see there. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have S-video. It doesn't have RGB SCART. To Europeans, you guys know what that is. To Americans, whatever, we don't care. We didn't get that here. It doesn't have anything higher. It doesn't have component or HDMI or anything like that. We're stuck with RF. The only way you can get higher video quality is to either mod the system, or there is actually an attachment for the back of the system called the AV booster that will give you much better video. But I don't own that thing because it's really expensive. If anybody has it, it's not valuable. Send it to me. But anyway, yeah, so we're stuck with RF. Otherwise, I would capture footage and show you gameplay. I can't do that. So what I'm going to have to do is just aim the camera at my TV, and you'll just see the menu, and I'll just talk as we're going through it. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it on. Lights up because it's accessing the card. And then you're displayed with a menu. Now you'll see these three folders. Now obviously the Master System and the Game Gear are not supported by the Turbografx 16, and the only reason they're there is those are just folders with ROMs for the Everdrives I have for those two systems, so just ignore those. I just share the same SD card. Now we're going to focus obviously on the Turbografx 16. So despite its simplistic look, it actually has a lot of features. First, if I press the, there's two main action buttons on the Turbografx 16 controller. If I push the right one, it'll show me the OS version, which is 2, the firmware version of 1, assembly date, it's made September 10th, 2012, assembly time 6/10/58, or 18/10/58 as it literally says. So that's just nice to know if you ever want to upgrade these things, because these things are also firmware upgradable for new features. Though I think you need to have some skills that I don't have to do that. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is, what I did, I should say, is I created folders, obviously, because you see those two, but I also created one for Turbografx 16. And in there, I put two subset of folders, A through M and N through Z. Now, as you probably guessed, those are just two folders containing nothing but games. And the reason you want to space them out is because it does have a page limit, and you can see up at the top it says page 1 of 1. I believe it's a 12-page limit, which means if you were to put every game on there, it would, you know, kind of burn out around somewhere around, like, I want to say R or something. Like, none of the games alphabetically after R would show up. So it's good to just split the alphabet in half. I'm going to go back here for a second. Now, I've already loaded one game into it ahead of time because I want to specifically show you this game, but it takes a long time for that game to load, so I just pre-did it. If you press the select button on your controller, it will play the most recent game that you've loaded, so I'll just go ahead and do that. And as you can see, that's Street Fighter Champion Edition. Now, like I said, this is supposed to be like a really good port of Street Fighter 2, and so much so that people were somewhat upset that it was not really on anything else. This is one of the main reasons to own a Turbografx 16, or, well, PC Engine really, because I believe this only came out in Japan. But with it, here, with this Everdrive, you can now play this import game with no problem. Whereas if you actually, ironically, if you actually bought an actual copy of Street Fighter II for your for your PC Engine, you would not be able to play it on TurboGrafx 16. So this actually makes playing imports, if you want to call it playing imports, makes it a lot easier. Now I'll play for like a second here. You know, I'm not very good at fighting games, but whatever. And I always play as Blanca, even though I kind of suck as him. I suck as everybody. But let's see if I can defeat E Honda here real quick. Yeah, I'll just... Come on. This is a good game. Yeah, I kicked his ass. Alright, so you get it. I'm going to turn this off. Now, unfortunately, you can't reset back to the menu without turning the system off, but that's not really that big of an inconvenience. So you just turn it right back on, and you're brought back to this menu. So now I'll just go, oops, sorry, wrong button. I just go ahead and click on the folder, and again, I have my 2 folders to pick from. And there's a couple of games I'm going to look at. You can scroll down one at a time by just pressing down on the D-pad, but if you press right on the D-pad, you'll go to a whole new page. And if you want to go back to that page, you have to press left again. You can hold down the down button to go a little bit faster, but you'll notice it just loops. So you have to eventually press the right button on your D-pad in order to go to the next page. Just so you guys know. And I think that's true of all Everdrives, actually. So we have a ton of games here. Some that I know are legit, and then others that I know are not, and then some that I'm not sure. For example, Outrun. Now that's a Sega game. Here, I'll go ahead and start it. To load a game, you just press start on the game, and depending on the game, it'll take a moment or it might be like immediate, and then the game starts. Now this says copyright Sega 1987. As far as I know, Sega did not make any games for the TurboGrafx 16. Why would they? That was their competition. But then again, it does say copyright NEC down at the bottom, so maybe it's completely legit. I honestly don't know. That's one of the games where I just have no idea if it's actually supposed to be on the system or not. Now, it runs pretty well, but you know, if it's a legitimate game, that would make sense. Yeah, although if it's a pirate hack, it's a pretty good one. What do you guys think of Outrun? I love Yu Suzuki. He's a guy who made Shenmue, which you guys know I talk about Shenmue all the time. But I've never understood the appeal of the Outrun series. Whatever, that's just my opinion. But point is, I just didn't know if that game was real or not. So I'm going to turn it back on again, and we're going to go back to our menu. Oh, sorry, I keep doing that. Go back down here. I want to show you another game that is probably the game this system is most famous for now, and that's Splatterhouse. Splatterhouse was a horrifyingly monstrous game when it came out. People were like mortified about its existence, but now it would be nothing. The sequels are actually both on the Genesis, and they're really, really expensive, hard games to find. And Splatterhouse 1 for the TurboGrafx 16's not easy to find either, although it is somewhat easier to find, which kind of blows my mind, because like, who would have it? Who just has TurboGrafx 16 stuff laying around? But if you do, chances are you own this game. Sadly, I do not, but one day I hope to. But in the meantime, you know, this is what I can work with here. So yeah, this is like a horrifying game about, well, it's not scary by any stretch of the imagination anymore, but you know, as I recall, this guy's family is like abducted or something, and he like makes a deal with the devil to like get them back, which is why he has this mask on. It makes him all strong and stuff, and then he can just beat everything up and pick up weapons and, you know, kill things. You have to understand, in the early 90s when this came out, you did not see blood in video games. That was pretty unheard of. You didn't see this level of violence and gore in your video games. You saw pleasantries like you know, Sonic and Mario and so on. So this kind of scared a lot of people, but it is one thing that people seem to remember about the TurboGrafx 16. Yeah, this is a pretty cool game. I want to get into this more some other time, but not right now. So I'll turn it back on again. Click on our folder here. Now, one thing I want to show you, which is I just thought was funny, it shows you that we're not playing an emulator here. We're playing real hardware. We're really playing actual, as far as it's concerned, cartridges on the system. And it plays it the exact same way a regular cartridge would work. Now, that's cool because not only do you get to play the legitimate games, you get to play things
that are not legitimate. You know, for example, someone went to the trouble of pirating and porting the original Super Mario Bros. To the TurboGrafx 16, which is pretty cool, but seems pointless because you could only, you know, obviously they never made cartridges of that because that's not real. So all they would have done is you could just play it on like TurboGrafx 16 emulators and be like, oh, I'm playing Super Mario Bros. On the TurboGrafx 16 emulator. It's kind of hard to, you know, for them to have, probably to have imagined that you would eventually be able to play it on an actual TurboGrafx 16 via this wonderful device. And now I'm actually playing an odd port of the original Super Mario Brothers on the TurboGrafx 16 with an actual TurboGrafx controller and everything. The music is all kinds of horrible, but I'm sure that's not the TurboGrafx 16, that's just the failed port. For some reason, everybody seems to port this game to every system, like officially or unofficially. You can play this like on the Genesis that way, and I believe the SNES, and obviously the NES. Although there's no Everdrive for the NES yet. Although I think they're working on that. And there we go. Already beat the first level.
Okay, so there you go. There you have it. That's the TurboGrafx Everdrive, Turbo Everdrive. And again, I picked this up at the retrotowers.co.uk. Go check them out. And I'm going to give you guys a bonus here. As a direct result of this video, if you go there and you type in Adam K, I'll put it right here, as a coupon code on that website, you'll get 5% off your order. 5%, any item, just my name, Adam K, and you get 5% off your order. And that's a pretty good deal, I think. You can get the Turbo Everdrive, which I highly recommend, or any of the other items on his site. So go check it out, and thanks for watching, everybody.